Hi, my name is m.vaughn. Today's date is November 10, 2019. This is Module 8 for the Anatomy and Physiology Lab number 15. The instructor is Bennett. This portion I'm going to talk about 3 major components of the female reproductive system. And I went ahead and circled 3 parts, which was the ovary, the fallopian tube, and the uterus. And over here again is the ovary, fallopian tube, and the uterus. The ovaries, like testes, are paired organs. The ovaries are suspended in the pelvis and covered by a draped sheet of peritoneum. Like the testicles, they're spongy, ovoid, solid organs. The ovaries are attached to the uterus medially by the ovarian ligament and to the pelvic wall laterally by the suspensory ligament. The fold of the peritoneum that drapes over the ovary and ligaments is called the broad ligament. This tethering system of ligaments allows the ovaries to move in the pelvis and yet retain a reasonable relationship to the ducts of the female reproductive tract. The ovary contains many microscopic sacs called ovarian follicles. Each sac contains one undeveloped egg cell. Follicular cells surround the oocyte. Under hormonal stimulation, one or more follicles in the ovary begin to develop as the oocyte matures into the ovum. While the ovum develops, the follicle begins to fill with fluid. As the follicle becomes larger than 1/2 inch, it is called a mature follicle. When a follicle is mature, it moves to the surface of the ovary where it can expel the ovum, and this process is called ovulation. Ovulation occurs in a cycle that averages 20 days in length. Although usually only one ovum in one ovary is released during each cycle, if multiple mature follicles are present, more than one ovum can be released at any given cycle. I'm going to talk about the fallopian tubes. The fallopian tubes are enclosed in the broad ligament along with the ovarian ligaments. The ends of the fallopian tubes, which lie near the ovaries, are shaped like a large fringed funnel around the ovary, but are not continuous with it. This is unlike the vas deferens in males, which is continuous with the epididymis and seminal vessels. The other end of the fallopian tube embed into the uterine wall, providing a pathway into the intrauterine cavity. The fringed end of the fallopian tube surrounding the ovaries is called the fimbriae. The fimbriae wave like palms in the breeze. I'm pulling the oocyte into the fallopian tube. Not all ova make it into the fallopian tube. Some stay in the lateral pelvis near the ovary, an area called the adnexa. The fallopian tube has smooth muscles in its walls and a ciliated mucosa. The smooth muscles, peristalsis, and waving cilia move the oocyte toward the uterus. Although a fallopian tube is usually not longer than 4 inches, it takes up to 5 days for the oocyte to reach the uterus. However, an oocyte does not live longer than 12 to 24 hours after ovulation. That is why fertilization or conception occurs in the fallopian tube. The uterus is a pear-shaped solid organ with a central cavity. The uterus lies under the same fold of the peritoneal serosa that covers the fallopian tubes and ovaries. However, the peritoneal serosa overlying the uterus is tightly adherent to it, forming the serosal surface of the uterus. The serosal layer only covers the superior 2/3 of the uterus. Vaginal mucosa covers the lower third of the uterus. The uterus lies in the pelvis just posterior to the bladder and anterior to the rectum. It is anchored to the pelvic wall on either side by the broad ligaments, anteriorly by the round ligaments, and posteriorly by the uterosacral ligaments. The uterus lies in the pelvis like an upside-down pear. The base of the pear, the superior portion of the uterus, is called the fundus. This is where the fallopian tubes insert on either side. At the site of fallopian tube insertion, the uterine fundus tapers. The central third of the uterus is called the uterine corpus. The inferior third of the uterus is called the cervix. The cervix protrudes into the roof of the vagina, and its serosal surface is vaginal mucosa. Thank you.